All right, Steve Cease, LP Illinois Chair, here with another candidate interview of all the wonderful candidates that we have running here on the Libertarian ticket in Illinois. This time I'm with Ken Allison, who's actually running for state representative in my district. Ken, how are you doing tonight, man?
Hey, I'm doing great, Steve. How about you?
I'm hanging in there, dude. So you've got a really interesting story about how you ended up in politics and specifically running on the Libertarian platform. So tell me the quick and dirty version of how it happened, my man.
Yeah, it's a really good question. So basically, I never had any real intention of running for any kind of political office. I think all of us at some point of our lives, we kind of question that, like, man, would I ever want to run for an office? And without like having some sort of a catalyst or having some sort of real passionate reason, it just wasn't everything that I really looked at. And so I'm a small business owner in the greater Peoria community. And when COVID happened and the pandemic really started to take off, that was something that I was seeing, kind of witnessing. Like, I started paying attention to it in January, February, and I noticed it was starting to really take some meaty traction. And truthfully, I was feeling like we were on a freight train that was starting to kind of, lose a little bit of control here, And so once the governor decided to shut down unilaterally what was going to happen in the state of Illinois, me owning two bar restaurants, obviously that became incredibly important to me. And as the months would go on, I started to look at, hey, maybe it's time to ask my state rep what's going on. I was looking at what was going on with Darren Bailey, what his actions were, and I thought that was a really gutsy maneuver. And unfortunately, I just wasn't able to get a hold of my representative. I'm an Army guy. I spent 27 and a half years wearing a military uniform with 3 combat tours. I'm a certified public accountant, so I just have a natural inclination to be analytical. And so I started asking questions. And the more that I started to ask, the more I realized that Keith Summer, who had been in office for 21 years, has been largely vacant. And so the troubling part of that is that, when it comes to critical points in our history, dialing back, 20-some years ago, 19 years ago, we had 9/11. That to me was the first time, we ran into something that was just bigger than ourselves. And this felt just like it, with the exception that you could really just see the politicalness of it. And I just felt like, we deserve better. I mean, you can't look at it any other way than knowing that our state reps need to be engaged, and they're not, because the only two voices that I was hearing and that we're still hearing is the governor and the mayor from Chicago. And then it makes you, well, why do we have all the rest of our, congressmen and senators? They're not doing anything.
So what's Ken Allison going to do in Springfield? What are you going to do when you win on November 3rd?
Yeah.
What's like the number one thing that you're looking forward to, man?
So, I think at the end of the day, to me, what will win the day for 2020 on November 3rd is really just establishing trust as being the goal. If I'm blessed enough to be able to garner enough votes to put me into office down in Springfield, the first thing I'm going to do is try to figure out who I can trust down there. I think our legislative body, between the House of Representatives and the Senate, the governor especially, you can't legislate trust. You can't force people and their constituents to trust, our elected officials. And it's my main goal is to find out who do we have in Springfield that we can actually rely on. And so really the goal to that is really just demanding transparency. And I think, with the amount of corruption that's going on in the state of Illinois, I think it's time to take some really hard measures. And I think what I would like to see is that, every single one of our elected officials, all the way from the top, all the way down to our local officials, I think we need to start demanding, copies of tax returns. I mean, think about that. We need to see how people are making their money, so where we can uncover the self-dealing and the corruption. And I'm not there to make any friends. I'm not there to be a career politician. I want to get in. I want to get out. And because at the end of the day, the only kind of paycheck that I like to receive are the ones that I write for myself. I don't want to take a paycheck from the state of Illinois, much less the good people here,
Oh, yeah. Outside of COVID, probably the biggest issue on the ballot this November is the income tax amendment in Illinois.
Yeah.
How do we defeat
absolutely.
that thing, man?
I think, people, the trouble is that there's been when the governor decides to write a check for $51.5 million out of his personal funds. And one thing that I would ask people to do before you vote yes or no is just go through that mental exercise of what it's like. Go grab your checkbook out of your purse or your wallet or wherever you keep it, and imagine, pretend, write a check for $51.5 million and just see what that looks like. So this way you can understand fully, like, why is he trying to press this so hard? And the truth is that Springfield has been horrendous with managing our people's money. And now they want, at the most critical time of our financial lives, to ask for more. I just don't think that right now they've been very transparent. And I think the information that's been provided has been very heavily biased. I'm not saying that, hey, we shouldn't ever go to a progressive tax structure. I'm not saying that we shouldn't ever really, dial it back, or at least dive in and maybe ask ourselves. But again, I'm a tax guy. I've been doing tax returns for 20 years. It's a hard no, just because, like, show me the math. And I think ultimately the biggest question is that JB Pritzker needs to show his tax returns. We need to see what that model looks like relative to his well-being. And I think then you'll see really truthfully the wealth gap between somebody that can write a check for $51.5 million and everyday people like you and I. And if you don't think for a minute that he's not going to reallocate and reapportion his income outside the state of Illinois, it's you'd be gravely surprised. So it's a hard no for now. Let's revisit it once we get past COVID and then talk about it. But there are other ways for us to trim the fat before we start asking people more money.
Ken Allison, he's running for state rep in the 88th district. That's my
Sure
district. Hey, how can voters find out more and maybe get you some cash for yard signs, literature,
yeah, sure.
all that type of stuff?
Best way, what we've really done is that we've really took after, or I should say we've really focused on social media. I know, at least I've been told, is that you can't win elections with social media alone. I don't know if that's necessarily true, because I think our engagement has been very, very impressive. And I think it's largely just due to the fact that, we have an authentic message. We're able to really reach out, and we're being really, really smart about it. But if people want to figure out who I am, all they got to do is go to Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. They can find me at Ken Allison 309, just like the area code, Ken Allison. It's ALLISON 309, just like the area code, like I said. Or they can go to www.kenallison.org. You're going to find a lot of content, of really raw stuff, and I am who I am. I'm not trying to be a politician, but after 27.5 years in the military, being a public servant is something that comes very natural to me. So thanks again, Steve. I appreciate being on today.
Yeah, Ken,
sure.
Hey, good luck, brother. We're all rooting for you, man.
All right. Thanks a lot, buddy. Have a great day.
Thanks again.
Yeah, take care. Bye.